Hello, this is Jim Buskirk. I'm the president and owner of Peak and Balance Centers of America, and I want to thank everyone for attending the webinar on head injury and concussion management. As you know, this is a lively topic receiving a lot of attention in the media, and we at Peak and Balance Centers of America hope to bring a scientific basis towards collecting data to substantiate the methods that are being utilized in determining the extent or magnitude of injury and its relationship towards participation. We are happy to be working with various youth, collegiate, and professional athletic organizations to collect our data again this year, and we appreciate everyone's willingness to participate with us. I would at this point like to introduce Catherine Wheeler, who is a physical therapy student from Rosalind Franklin University, who will conduct the beginning part of this webinar.
Hi, my name is Catherine Wheeler. I'm a student from Rosalind Franklin University, and I'll be giving the next part of the concussion lecture, starting with some facts and statistics about concussions that people may not realize. 10% of all contact sport athletes sustain concussions yearly. 63% of all concussions occur in football. It's estimated that up to 20% of football players will sustain a concussion per season. An athlete who sustains concussion is 4 to 6 times more likely to sustain a second concussion. Bell ringers or mild concussions account for 75% of all concussive injuries. Effects of concussion are cumulative in athletes who return to play prior to complete recovery. The best way to prevent problems with concussion is to manage them effectively when they occur. And no athlete should return to play while experiencing symptoms of concussion. So what is a concussion? An MTBI, or mild traumatic brain injury, is the occurrence of injury to the head resulting from blunt trauma of acceleration or deceleration forces with one or more of the following symptoms. So the first one is transient confusion, disorientation, or impaired consciousness. The second is dysfunction of memory. The third is loss of consciousness, 30 minutes or less. The fourth is other neurological or neurophysiological dysfunction. So basically, a concussion is a disturbance in brain function caused by forces to the head, most commonly after impact. It's a functional injury as opposed to a structural injury that results in physical, cognitive, emotional, and sleep-related symptoms. If you look at our next slide, here are some common signs and common symptoms of concussion. So signs and symptoms are a little bit different, but they'll both be looked at and assessed for after injury, most likely right in the field or on the ice where you come from play. So some of the common signs: an athlete will appear dazed, you'll be confused about play, questions will be answered slowly, there could be personality or behavior changes, they'll forget plays prior to the hit, they'll experience retrograde amnesia, which is the forgetting of events that have already occurred or things previously learned. You can forget plays after hit. There's anterograde amnesia, which is the loss of ability to create new memories. And of course, there's loss of consciousness. Some common symptoms are headache, nausea, balance problems, double vision, photosensitivity, which is the sensitivity to light. You can feel sluggish, feel foggy. There can be changes in sleep patterns and cognitive changes. Post-concussive syndrome is a set of symptoms that may occur weeks, months, or even years after a concussion has occurred. Some of the most common symptoms listed here are decreased processing speed, short-term memory impairment, concentration deficit, irritability and depression, fatigue or sleep disturbances, a general feeling of fogginess, or some might experience academic difficulties. What is second impact syndrome? Second impact syndrome is what happens when an athlete is cleared too soon and is returned to play while they're still experiencing symptoms, and then they experience a second injury. Second impact syndrome has been shown to occur up to 14 days post-injury when the athletes return to competition before their symptoms have resolved. It is rare now, considering the knowledge behind concussion and the knowledge that your coaches and trainers and managers have, and the efforts they undergo to ensure preseason screenings and the safety of their players. but it needs to be brought to attention that it can still happen. So the return to play decision. Athletes should not return to play until concussion symptoms have resolved, and everyone is different. For this reason is why we take a detailed history and examination and get baseline testing for comparison. For some athletes, the dizziness and concentration problems resolve rather quickly, within 7 to 10 days, but for some it takes longer. So this is why careful history and exam are performed. And it's also important to have that baseline neurophysiological data from each athlete that can be used for comparison to determine if an athlete is safe to return to play. So this data will come from the preseason screenings that I'll discuss in a few slides. So, like I said, this is important. This is why it's important to get screened and then monitored following an injury. You're in good hands. So what are the screenings? The program includes a free preseason screening to be scheduled by each team and will occur before the beginning of practices for the fall season. And all the screenings will be performed by Peak BCA, which you saw on the title slide. A little bit about the program description. So the program is set up to protect you as an athlete. And remember, the program is not mandatory and will not affect any athlete's playing time or position on the team. And before the screenings, each participant must receive and fill out a signed informed consent form. They'll be sent to all of your team managers and should be distributed before you go to the preseason screenings. Please bring this form with you on preseason screening day. So there are 6 components and phases of the program. The preseason screenings will begin in September and run throughout the month. These will give us the baseline data I mentioned before that we need for comparison should an injury occur. If a player is injured, it will be confirmed by the screening at the game. The player will have 24 hours to report the injury to Jim Buskirk, who will begin the history, examination, and further assessment testing. This will begin the process of a step-by-step return to play for the athlete. So usually this begins with off-ice rehab, such as conditioning workouts and running and that sort of thing, non-contact. Once the player is deemed ready, they'll return to on-ice non-contact practice. And the final step is on-ice full contact return to play. And again, this process is all step-by-step to ensure this player's safety. There are 3 tests that will be performed at the preseason screenings. The first is the King-Devick test, which is a timed test in which players will read from a card or an iPad, whatever is available. If injury occurs, they'll read the card again, and if the time it takes to read the card after injury exceeds their baseline time, the athlete will be removed from play. The IR oculography looks at players' eyes to assess for nystagmus, which is a fast, uncontrollable movement of the eye that can be up and down, side to side, or around in a circle, which is called rotary nystagmus, and are common signs of concussion. And then finally, Cognizance is a computerized cognitive eye tracking memory test. Now I'd like to introduce another member of our team who is providing the sensors for the study, and he'll elaborate for us as to how the program works.
Thank you, Katie. My name is Dan Nicholson, and I am the founder of Headcase Company. Headcase is a 3-part head health management system which monitors every impact that an athlete takes during sport and alerts trainers of potentially dangerous impacts. Headcase is a 3-part system consisting of an a rink side or field side mobile app and concussion symptom test, as well as a cloud-based athlete impact and data analysis center for reporting and analysis. As you can see in the next slide, the 3-part system is made up of an in-helmet sensor, which is a portable multi-sport omnidirectional accelerometer which measures and records every impact that an athlete takes during sport and wirelessly uploads them to our website in real time. They do that through the mobile app that runs on either an Android or an iPhone, as well as includes a field side or rink side concussion assessment test. Then all of that data is then stored in the Athlete Impact Data and Analysis Center for a complete historical record of all of that information, from impacts to failed field side tests or rink side tests to any of the information we have gathered on each athlete. And the website is a full service portal for head health information, as well as a member site, which includes reporting, analysis, as well as alerting of parents, coaches, and trainers of major issues that may take place on the ice or field. Thank you, and now back to Katie.
Thank you, Dan. A little bit about in-game injury recognition. So when the participant thinks they've sustained an injury, they'll go to report to their coach or manager. Signs and symptoms will be looked for and assessed. If a concussion is suspected, the player will be removed from participation and monitored by the team manager and or coach. They will then need to inform Jim Buskirk of the injury within 24 hours and let him know of the problem that's at hand. So next, the player will need to report the injury. So you'll go to the CYA website to the Peak BCA link, or just click on the link here from the slide. When the website opens, go to Report an Injury. You must complete the Report an Injury form, which will show up right there on the screen for you. In the comment section, make sure you report the player's name, team, player's contact phone number, and email, and click Submit. Upon submitting, Peak BCA will contact the injured player within 24 hours to do an in-office assessment. Peak BCA's medical team will determine the extent of participation that the player is allowed, including off-ice activity. The responsible person for the team will be notified, informed via email. If the player requires absence from school or other activities, depending on the severity, the pertinent parties will be notified. As the player recovers, progressive participation will be allowed and monitored towards full participation when able. And I will turn it back over to Jim Buskirk to wrap things up. Thank you.
We at Peak and Balance Centers of America would again like to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to work with your organizations on this research program. We hope that the data that we collect will further the scientific basis for the way that this injury is managed going forward. If you have specific questions regarding the study, please feel free to contact me, Jim Buskirk, or any member of our research team, and we have provided our contact information for you.